Hello and welcome to the ROKER RAPPORT podcast in association with Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen. My name's Rich Speight and I'm joined by ex-Sunderland star and current Arsenal Ladies player and England international, superstar of the women's game, Beth Mead. How are you this evening, Beth?
I'm good, thank you. Like the introduction.
Well, I mean, you're a proper superstar and somebody I think who has inspired quite a lot of interest in Sunderland Football Club over the year, particularly on the women's side. And somebody I think a lot of Sunderland fans still look out for when they're following the WSL and the Lionesses. How's lockdown been treating you?
I mean, obviously at the beginning, I think it was a weird situation for everyone, but I, at the time, was injured when it first hit. So I had a lot of concentration on getting myself fit before the game started again. Unfortunately, the league got cancelled, avoided, but I kind of had something to motivate myself on, keep myself busy with, and actually got myself in really good shape during lockdown. And I'd probably jumped on the TikTok bandwagon as well at that time as well, so that kept me quite busy as well.
Great, yeah, I saw you doing some fitness videos with all of your routines. Unfortunately, I'm not quite in good enough shape to follow along with those. Let's start at the beginning of your career. You grew up in a little village near Whitby, is that right?
Yeah, Hinderwell.
Hinderwell.
About 9 miles away from Whitby. Smallest village in the world, in the middle of nowhere, but yeah, it's where I call home, and it's a place that I love, and my family still live there, and it's a beautiful place to come from.
And so how did you get into football?
I was a kid with a lot of energy. I annoyed the hell out of my mum and dad. There was a man who did a community local village Saturday morning session for an hour, generally with the boys. My mum was like, "Oh, let's take her there. She enjoys sport. Try and get rid of a little bit of energy." I turned up there one day and he told me they're quite rough, these boys, but she's very welcome to join in. And yeah, my mum returned and the man apologised to my mum. And obviously, my mum thought I'd done something wrong. And actually, he was apologising that I was rougher than most boys and better than most of them. So he was someone who told me that I probably could go a bit further within football. Obviously, I was just doing it as fun and I loved it. But he was someone who kind of told me to move and do it a little bit more seriously. And yeah, it was something that I enjoyed doing and started to do more seriously.
Who were your inspirations? Who did you look up to when you were a youngster? Were there players who you idolised?
I mean, growing up, the likes of Wayne Rooney, I loved Ronaldo, Thierry Henry, Kelly Smith from Arsenal was a female that I followed a lot. She was obviously huge as a kid when I was growing up and someone that I looked up to. So I always knew I liked scoring goals and wanting to be involved around goals. So they were players that scored and assisted, and they were players that I wanted to be like.
Pretty good role models to have in the game, definitely.
Not bad at all.
And yeah, it explains why it turned out to be a centre forward or a forward in general. Yeah. You ended up being picked up by Middlesbrough's academy to begin with, and you were there up until the age of 16. Was that a really important stage in your development?
Yeah, it was, and I really enjoyed my time there. You played against a lot of different centre of excellence. It was at the time. I think we call it RTC now. Yeah, not every game was easy. And I think when I played before, then I kind of was winning games 20-0, scoring 15 of them goals and stuff. So I wasn't getting tested. And I kind of went into centre of excellence football and still excelled, but it was more of a challenge for me. And I kind of learned my way and how I played as a footballer and what I knew I was good at and needed to be better at. And that was a good development stage for me in my time at Middlesbrough.
And that kind of variety in a young player's career is important, isn't it? That you do stretch yourself. And you talked, I've read an article, a really interesting article that you wrote for the Arsenal website about where you talked about getting out of your comfort zone. And you had to be kind of nudged and prodded and persuaded to get out of your comfort zone at Middlesbrough and move a few miles up the road and join Sunderland, age 16. How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I always say to kids now, speaking to them, I think being a big fish in a little pond isn't always the best thing for you. And as nice as it feels at that time, to become even better, you kind of need to become that little fish again. I remember it clearly because I was 16, I played against Sunderland, and I actually didn't start that game because I'd woke up one morning with a kink in my neck. So I was getting my dad to literally massage it on the bus journey there, and Yeah, at half-time I got brought on and scored a hat-trick against Sunderland, and the Sunderland manager happened to be there at that time and was like, I need this girl to come and play for me. What can I do? And at that time, obviously, comfort zone, I was very comfortable. The Centre of Excellence was actually going to go to under 17s age group. So it gave me an extra year to be there. So in my head, I was like, oh, I could maybe stay and keep enjoying what I'm doing instead of pushing myself at women's level. And luckily, both my mum and dad wouldn't settle for me being that big fish, So they pushed me to go. And it was the best decision that I ever made with the support of them. And I went to Sunderland and played very regularly for them as a number 9 and kind of kick-started my career from there.
Well, that's absolutely the case, wasn't it? You broke through straight away into the Sunderland team, and your goals over a 4-year period took Sunderland almost all the way at the top of the pyramid. Obviously, you won Young Player of the Year awards at that time, really highly rated, but you were surrounded by some really good players at Sunderland. So who was the most kind of influential player at the time in that team, and who did you learn the most from playing with the seniors at Sunderland and going through the divisions?
Steph Bannon was someone who took me under her wing, the captain, for when I was there. She kind of took me under her wing, and she was always tough for me, but it helped me. She was always tough for me in training, whether it was tackling, and she was like, this is what's going to happen on a weekend. You need this now. And yeah, it helped me. There was numerous of the girls, Kelly McDougall, who was there a long time,
Mm.
Rachel Finesse, who's still playing. Yeah, they were really influential for me as in on and off the pitch. They kept me grounded. They made me work hard. Talent can get you so far, but you need to work hard. And they kept me on my toes. They made me a better person and a better player. And yeah, I would definitely big shout out to them players who were unbelievable for me, especially when I was a young 16-year-old and they were, quite senior at the time.
Those kind of influences stay with you, don't they?
Yeah.
You hear so many players talking up the people who did take them under their wing when they were first breaking through, and they're really important. But you were absolutely electric. I mean, I was talking to my dad in the lead up to talking to you, who I think was there during your first game watching Sunderland, and I remember him ringing up and said, they've found an absolute diamond here. And he wasn't wrong. He's not a bad talent spotter sometimes.
You need to get him as a scout. You need to get him as a scout, eh?
Well, he's developed a few players for Sunderland over the years as a school teacher. But you made it all the way and took Sunderland all the way with your goals. I mean, it's 18 a season for 3 seasons in a row or something like that.
Yeah, I think my dad's the best for stats, but he told me, my time I left Sunderland, I think I'd played 78 games and scored 77 goals, so it wasn't too bad a stat to have.
No, it's absolutely amazing, isn't it? And
Yeah.
in that season in WSL in 2015, you put in some memorable performances. You scored a header in the win against Liverpool. You scored a hat-trick against Chelsea?
Chelsea at home.
And those will stand out in the memories for a lot of Lasses fans. You were only 20 at the time, but how important in your development was that season and improving, doing it at the top level?
I mean, for me and for Sunderland, I think it was proving a point that we could handle ourselves in that league. The game against Chelsea, they were unbeaten until they played us, and then we beat them 4-0 at home. So, yeah, for me and for the team, I think it was an unbelievable season to kind of prove that we belong to be there, and we proved our worth after obviously a tough time a few years before, not getting accepted, then having to go through WSL2, get promoted the hard way. So we proved ourselves in that league, and then proving a point that we deserve to be there individually, that I could do it at that level. I know a lot of people I critique saying, "Oh, she's doing it in WSL2, but can she do it in one?" I wanted to do the best that I could for the team, and I think that season, we got halfway through the season, we were top of the league, mathematically safe, and we were buzzing about that, but actually we were competing against the best teams in England. So for myself, I was competing against the best players and the best teams, and the same for the girls and the team at Sunderland.
What was it that kind of pushed you to look for a move, or were you looking for a move, or did Arsenal come and kind of headhunt you and really recruit you in that way?
The season before, when I got promoted with WSL2, Arsenal actually came in for me before I started WSL1. And I think I would have been ready to jump out my comfort zone at that time, but I wanted to one, be loyal to Sunderland and compete with them in WSL 1 and kind of show what we're about and I'm about. And it probably was a risk because if I hadn't had a great season, would people have wanted me?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I actually signed a new deal for Sunderland just before Arsenal came in for me. So I was actually committing to the club. And then the season after, Arsenal came in for me again. And unfortunately, at that time, I was full-time professional, but they were starting to cut players down to semi-pro again. And the club was kind of going backwards, which was a real shame. But Arsenal was a dream for me. But unfortunately, with the decisions being made at Sunderland, it kind of made my decision a lot easier to leave than it probably would have been initially. But for me, it was a good time for me to, start a new challenge and push myself again to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of Sunderland Ladies fans, that demotion at the end of that season still hurts quite a lot, because it was not for footballing reasons. It was, you and the other players and the coaching staff and the fans had all worked really hard and, performed to the level, and then to see that taken away for non-football reasons must have been gutting. How hard was it for as a former player, as you were, as Sunderland were relegated, to see them demoted to the third tier for things that didn't happen on the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I was devastated from afar, It was my first senior club. I hold a lot in my heart for the club. I still do. I wouldn't be where I am without them. And of course, I was, devastated when I'd seen that news. Even when I played against Sunderland, I scored and found it hard. I didn't celebrate, but, you find it hard with clubs that have kind of molded you as a player. And I have a big love for this club, as do the fans, and the hard work that us players, staff, fans, like you said, have put in to get us where we were. To kind of have it took away without actually being able to stand on a football pitch was really, really sad to see. And I was devastated for them.
Yeah, and they've done amazing since then to kind of
Yeah.
bounce back, haven't they? I mean, just like the form over the last couple of years has been outstanding, and it's great to see them back in the Championship next season.
Yeah.
So you go down to London, you move, as you say, out of your comfort zone, away from, just being a few miles down the road from your family, and then you've got a new manager comes in not that long after you start. You get Joe Montemuro comes in, Meadow comes in as a striker as well, and you're asked to do something completely different in your career. You moved out to the wing. How important was that in terms of your overall development as a footballer, and how important was Joe in terms of his input into your playing style and your overall development as a footballer?
I at first, obviously, when Viv came, found it difficult. I played number 9 all my career. That's all I knew. That was my trade. I scored goals. I helped bring other people into play. I found that really difficult. Being brutally honest, but it's probably the best thing at the same time that probably happened to me as a footballer. I kind of added a few more strings to my bow and adapted to become a winger, and actually found a love for the wing. I knew exactly what number 9 would love, and maybe it is a position that suits me more. Maybe not. I enjoy playing in both positions, but yeah, it kind of kickstarted my career at Arsenal being a winger, and I enjoy. Maybe it's the way Arsenal play that I enjoy it there more. If I'd have gone back to Sunderland, would I enjoy playing as a 9 or a winger there? You never know. But yeah, it's a position that I love playing. I mean, I love crossing a ball into the box. I love shooting from a distance, or crotting, as people say. So it's a kind of meant to, I do believe in things happening for a reason, and that apparently for me in football happened for a reason.
Yeah, it's great. And, you've expanded your skill set, haven't you? You've got a whole new aspect to your game, and you're still pretty lethal in front of goal when you're given the chance. So that's all other good. And you've been really successful with the Gunners, really, haven't you? You won the title in 2019. You've been to the World Cup with England. That must have been some feeling going to the World Cup representing your country. Obviously, England, the men's team are in action tomorrow, as it is. But that must be some feeling.
Oh, I mean, undescribable feeling. I'm representing my country in a World Cup, one of the biggest stages in the world, in a semi-final against USA. Started the game, assisted in that game. It's kind of what dreams are made of. starting as a 16-year-old at Sunderland wasn't something that I would expect to have been doing at the age of 24, 25. So super, super proud of that. And yeah, dream come true for me.
Yeah, and you were surrounded there by other players who kind of spent time on Wearside as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you talk about that as a group of kind of players around the England squad that, you know, God, we've all been through the same club here, or a large part of you had? Because I know amongst Sunderland fans it was like, oh, the Women's World Cup, look at all of these players who've been through here.
I think there's people said that the starting lineup, but I think there was about 6 or 7 players that were ex-Sunderland players, so it was nice to see. I mean, we joke about it. We said if we'd have all stayed, it might have been quite a pretty amazing team. When you think the likes of Bronzy, Steph Houghton, Jill, Carly, Jordan, Lucy Staniforth.
Yeah.
There was a lot of us. There was a lot of us that could have, you know, there's quite a few names there that wouldn't have looked bad still together in a Sunderland shirt.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But it's an exciting time now for women's football. We touched a little bit about Sunderland getting promoted again. And there have been new big sponsorship TV deals. How do you feel that women's football has changed since you started your career a decade ago now?
Yeah, massively. I mean, it's still got a long way to go, but it's bringing in more revenue, it's bringing in more fans, it's bringing in more TV deals. Obviously, Sky have jumped in now. It's bringing in more money. It's bringing in big players to the English league. People want to play here. It's a full-time job in the top league now, in WSL 1. Every team's full-time professionals. So you're starting to see the women's game catch up a little bit because of these resources that are being put in place for us. And hopefully it can only continue moving forward and, you know, getting the backing from the men's teams and, you know, getting that help as kind of being one club and one club as a whole.
Yeah, that's certainly been something from the new owners who've come in at Sunderland. It's something they've been really keen to say, is that they're going to offer the same backroom support in terms of training facilities and access to data and kind of all the kind of physical conditioning stuff is all going to be equal between the men's and the women's sides, and I'm sure that'll have a massive benefit.
Yeah. It's amazing, but that should be the norm now. I think that's the expectation that it should be the norm in the women's game. So
yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully we can get it there.
It will be amazing if all of the clubs in the men's pyramid were doing.
We'll get there one day. Let's hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's big changes afoot at Arsenal. We just had new manager Jonas Eidevall. Is that pronounced right? Was announced to come in, and after Montemurro left for Juventus, and your squad's changing too. There's players going in and out. Are you looking forward with confidence to the new WSL season? Do you see Arsenal being again one of the top teams to beat?
Yeah, I mean, last season even scraping third was not good enough to our standards. We know we need to improve. You know, we've got a new manager. It's a fresh start for everybody. I think we're all excited to get going again. We've got an amazing group of players and a talented group of players, and we're adding a few more players to strengthen depth. And I think this season could be an exciting season for us. And we've got to be confident and be positive about the season ahead. And we can compete with the best teams. So that's what we need to start doing again now as an Arsenal team and the history that this club has. That's
great. So you've achieved a lot in your career already. International football, winning titles, playing Champions League. Right at the top of the game. What are your ambitions for the next few years? Do you still got goals that you want to achieve?
I don't like to set too specific, but I always have an expectation from myself individually to be, the position I play, to be assisting and scoring goals. And I wouldn't say I put a specific figure on it, but I would, like to be doing that quite regularly in games and contributing to my defensive work. You know, it's an all-round game, and as a team, I think we know we need to be and want to be winning trophies again. We come away with nothing this season, and that's a big disappointment for a club like this. So I think individually, if I do well, let the team do well. Yeah, trophies are a big thing for us, and we need to kind of start getting them in the cabinet again.
Great. Well, yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure with some of the quality you've got on the pitch in that squad, you'll be there or thereabouts, certainly. So. You've been around the game for a good while now. You're really prominent. You know, there's a lot. You got a big following, social media, and a lot of young women, girls look up to you. as a role model. How important is it for you and for other players, your friends and colleagues at the club, about being role models, about challenging discrimination? Is that a really key part of what you see as the role of a modern professional footballer right at the top, like yourself?
I mean, yeah, I think I know a lot of young people and older people, look up to me as a person and player on and off the pitch. I like to make an effort with people and fans, and that's how I've always been. We wouldn't be there without them, but everyone has their own beliefs. You can't tell people what to do, but you can kind of help put people on the right path. And as long as I'm doing the right things and the things that I believe in, and that's all that matters, to me, and hopefully people can follow along them lines. But I know I'm in a spotlight now where every little thing that I do is, watched. I could do this and a young girl could copy it. So yeah, it's something that I'm conscious of as a player, but it's something that I want to use as a positive and help young players or any person that would appreciate help. And I get some messages on social media platforms and people say I've helped them through lockdown, and actually for me, I think I've done nothing, but if I can help that person by 1%, then that makes me feel good as a person and as a football player.
It's nice to have that feeling that you've helped somebody a little. You've probably helped somebody a lot. Just to round off, it's a big question. This is kind of fielded from amongst the ROKER Report gang who follow the women's game. And what everyone wanted to know was, would you ever consider coming back up to Sunderland, play at Everton again on that sloping pitch, maybe as just the swan song to your glorious career?
I think for me, I would never say never. I love the club and it's a club I owe a lot to. So as a player, I would never say never.
And who knows, it might be in the WSL in a couple of years' time. Let's hope Kira and the lasses can keep their progress going forward this season.
I hope for them that they do, and I hope they have the amazing season this season and get themselves back where they belong again.
Yeah, we all do, and we'll be following as our second team as always.
As always,
we'll be following Arsenal. So thanks for your time this evening. I know we've both got football we want to go and watch, and so thank you very much for joining me, Beth Mead.
You're welcome. Go and enjoy your football.